Welcome. Thank you for being here. This is the first time we've tried something quite like this, so we're doing it not quite live stream, but through Teams as well as in studio here, and Rogers TV is here filming. So there's a lot going on, so we'll see how things go, and hopefully it works without interruption. So I appreciate the patience and everybody as we get things going. Can everyone hear me okay like this? Yeah. Okay. So I'm Constable Berle Zwaan. I'm a Saanich police officer. I'm in my 29th year of policing. I've been in lots of different sections. Most recently, financial crimes, where we really saw a shift and a change in how financial crimes was happening. 20 years ago when I was on patrol, somebody would knock on your door and say, can I build you a shed or make you a new fence? And they'd ask for a deposit, you'd give them a deposit. Off they'd go, they'd never come back. Those were the kind of frauds that I dealt with years ago when I first started policing. Now, COVID hit. We now have access to technology and computers, which is brilliant, but it also can be used by the scammers. So things have shifted and changed dramatically in the face of this financial crime landscape, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight to see how we can better protect ourselves and you guys because of what I've learned when I was in that. I was doing it on the side of my desk because we shifted the prevention work, sort of was on top of the investigations that we were doing. The program was quite successful that the deputy said, can you move into community engagement and do this full time? So I'm now doing this full time. I did 80 of these presentations last year, all within the community and to different community groups and different organizations. It's well received. It is about an hour and a half long. I'm going to say the bathrooms are just outside. If we stop sort of for questions along the way, it makes it a really long night. Likely within a slide or two, the question that you've kind of got burning there will be answered as we go. And afterwards, I'm happy to stay as long as we need to answer any questions or have discussions with anybody as we proceed. Okay, so without further ado, let's get going. I would like to acknowledge that for thousands of years, the Algonquin peoples, known today as Songhees and Esquimalt nations, and the Saanich peoples, known today as Sartlip, Pakachin, Sayut, Sakem, and Malahat nations, have walked gently on the ancestral and unceded territories where I now work. I am committed to learning and unlearning and building relationships with the First Nations people here to show my honor, respect, and gratitude. So why are we talking about fraud? Globally, we know that the state of scams has drastically increased. So 1.3 trillion is what they estimate are lost to scams globally. I just learned this when I was in the Global Anti-Scam Summit a few weeks back. And you can see that scams affect all of us. It doesn't matter what background we are, what education we have, where we've come from. We all are potential targets for scammers. We also know that statistically, and I'll talk a little bit more about our local statistics and our regional statistics, but statistically, scammers are now across the world in jurisdictions where we have no jurisdictional authority. So, we used to measure success in policing that we would arrest the bad guy and bring charges before Crown and go to court. We can't do that in this landscape in the same way anymore, because now a scammer is sitting behind a computer in a closet in Nigeria or China or Russia or somewhere where I have no jurisdictional authority. In the almost 3 years that I was in financial crimes, only twice did I ever get enough evidence to support charge submittal to Crown for charge consideration. And only once did they ever approve charges, and those are still before the courts, and we'll never recover that money, still. And that's not changing. We know, again, from Interpol, that financial crime happens across the world. And I know from my statistics that we gather that money leaves North America likely within 24 to 48 hours. So once someone sends money, we can trace it, and we will be able to trace it for a long time. So I can tell you, yeah, it's gone to Nigeria, or it's gone to India, or it's gone to Russia or China, but I'm not getting it back. So once someone sends money, the likelihood of it being gone are pretty big. And for me, that's awful because it's you guys that are losing the money, right? So that's why we're doing this program, to try to teach you how to protect yourselves. You're welcome to take notes, but there are handouts of all the important things over on the side, so you're welcome to grab those after. In Canada, the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre keep our statistics for us on a national level. They take reports of seniors or of anyone who has been victimized by fraud. And they reported that $638 million were reported in losses by residents of Canada. So that's kind of crazy, those numbers, right? We can also see that seniors are affected that way. We know, in 2022, I was at the Calgary Cybercrime Conference. We know that cybercrime is right behind China and the US GDP. So it is prime, and we are target rich for the cyber criminals to access us. Most of us in Canada, North America, are fairly well off, I think, in the grand global scheme of things. And we are prime and ripe for targeting by the cyber criminals. And we know that is continuing to happen. In Saanich, which is where I work, in 2023, the residents of Saanich reported over $7.7 million in losses. So that's kind of crazy. And we also know that from the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre that probably only 5 to 10% of people actually report fraud to the police. So likely these numbers are even higher, right? And you can see we only recovered $155,000 of that. So once you send money, it's gone. That's the big message. And so the next message is going to be, how do we protect ourselves from that, right? Last year, I'm hoping, partly because of this program, that our losses were reduced, still $4.9 million, almost $5 million, so still astronomical. And again, we only recovered $54,000. So still not great recovery, right? And that's not going to change anytime soon in our current geopolitical landscape. The stories, these here, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But I think in order to understand fraud, you need to understand theft. Most people understand theft. If I walk up to you and I grab your purse and I run away, that's theft, right? If I tell you, sorry, I like to walk and talk. It's going to be hard for me to stand in one spot. If I tell you a story and I convince you to give me your money or your wallet and you willingly give it to me, and the story I've told you is a lie, that's fraud. And the stories are what we're going to concentrate on tonight, because I think if you can recognize the stories and the red flags that are in those stories, that will give you your power to be able to recognize when someone's trying to scam you. We have hundreds of stories. They change all the time, depending on what's happening in the news, depending on what's happening in the media and the world. Sometimes, you know, when the war in Ukraine broke out, we saw tons of scams for victims, for fundraising for the victims of Ukraine. When Canada Post had their mail strike, we saw lots of scams like that. It is tax time, we are seeing tax scams, right? So whatever's going on currently, it changes daily, weekly, like it changes just like that. And I can't tell you all the stories. The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre has a website where you can see all the different pages, and they keep track of all of them. And if you want to know every single story, you can go to there and that website and see that. But we're gonna talk about the top 5. These top 5, and we're going to go into detail in each of these, are kind of to make you think. And I think if you recognize these 5 types of stories, you will be able to recognize any fraud, because they all have connections. There's not just one story. It changes a bit, right? Depending on what's happening, who the victim is, how the scammer is grooming them, how they're talking and connecting. Because scammers are like chameleons. They can become whoever they need to become in order to connect with you and take your money, right? So how many people have a computer? Just about everybody, right? We're all connected that way. We do our online banking, we do browsing, we search for things, we do map searches, we do shopping. We can do almost anything with our computers these days. Even our phones have the same ability. If you get a message or a pop-up on your computer that might look something like this, what would you do? Who knows? That's what not to do.
What does it say?
Can you not read it? No. Okay, so it's a pop-up on the computer screen that basically says you have a virus and something is, your computer's going to crash, and they want you to phone that phone number, right? So we call that a pop-up. And if you were to phone that number, likely you'd be talking to a scammer, right? They want access into your computer, and the story is that you're in trouble, or that's what they're trying to make you feel like, right? The scammer's trying to make you feel like you're kind of in your lizard brain, our fight or flight mode. Almost every victim that I've spoken to afterwards, they were kind of like, I thought I had to do that, right? So whatever story they're telling you makes them feel like they have to do something or something bad is going to happen. Your computer's going to crash. Your finances are going to disappear. Your Visa card is going to expire. Your Netflix account is going to expire. Whatever the story. But something that you own or a product that you have is getting into trouble if you don't do something. That's the story, right? And there's lots of different versions of that. What I don't want you to do is phone that phone number. So if you phone that phone number, you're going to be talking to a scammer, right? And if you try to X out of it, sometimes it won't X out of it. So what could you do then?
Turn it off.
Turn it off? How do you do that?
Unplug it.
Unplug it, yeah. Control-Alt-Delete. Hold the power button, reboot the computer. Often that makes the problem go away. Sometimes it even will sound like this.
Please do not attempt to shut down or restart your computer. Doing that may lead to data loss.
So this one actually happened to my mother-in-law in the summer, and she had this message pop up on her computer. It was beeping like an alarm sound, beep, 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 and then this computer-generated voice was saying, you know, you have this problem, you have to do this, otherwise your computer's going to crash, and it scared the heck out of her. She just wasn't sure what was happening. So the best thing is to try to X out of it, shut it down. What happens if that doesn't work? What if it won't go away? What do you do next?
Phone for help.
Okay, if you have an IT person or somebody that you trust that can do that for you. Otherwise, I want you to shut your computer down and physically bring it to the computer store where you purchased it, or an IT person that you trust, right? Somebody in person. Now, Apple has Apple support, and they do have a phone number that you can phone to get assistance, but don't trust the number that pops up. Independently look it up on another device or on your bill of sale to find what the Apple support number is. That's the difference, right? Here's another example. So how many people do online banking? Many of us, right? Online banking is a very good thing to do if you're doing it with a reputable banking company and you have your things in place. We want to ensure that we get warnings or notifications. There is that option within your online banking to set that up. So you can set it up so every transaction you get a text message, or every transaction over $100 you get an email. So however you set that up will depend on how you get notifications. But if you get an unsolicited text message, do you know what number it's coming from? How many people have a cell phone? Just about everybody these days too. How many people put their contacts, their families and friends into the contacts in their phones? Hopefully everyone. So that when you are receiving that phone call or that text message, it should show you who it's from, right? It should show you that it's from your loved one or from your son or daughter or your friend. If it's from someone that you know, you could trust it a bit more, but still not entirely even today. That's kind of where we're at. So if you get a message like this, that says basically something's wrong with your property, your finances, and you need to check in with your BMO or with your finances, what do you do?
Call the bank.
Call the bank, and what number do you use?
Independent number, not what's on here.
Okay, so the number on the back of your bank card, that's the number you can trust. Even that we've seen spoofed, and we'll talk about that as we go. The other one is you could personally go into the bank, right? Or you could log into your online banking independent from a link that you're sent. Anything with a link is suspicious. So unsolicited, anything from an unknown number, and anything with a link, those are all red flags that we want to pay attention to. The next scam is not now something you're owning is in trouble, but someone you care about is in trouble. So now it's shifted and switched a little bit. It's not, these often come in by phone calls. They can also come in by text messages, but it's often called the grandparent scam. It's been in the news a lot. People that you care about are in trouble, and you might receive a phone call saying, "Grandma, I've been arrested. I need help for bail money," or "I've been in an accident," or whatever the story is, right? There's hundreds of stories, again, that kind of fall under this category. But basically, someone you care about is in trouble, and they need help, and they need money. What do? Hang up. Don't respond in the first place. Like, don't even answer the phone. If it's from a number you do not recognize, I would encourage you not even to answer the phone. Nothing is so urgent in the financial world that you have to act right now, right? It can go to voicemail, they could leave a message, and you could respond back. And if you get this phone call and you then think, uh-oh, my loved one is in trouble, I would phone them independently on another device with the number that I had for them to double check. 99.9% of the time, they'll be just fine, right? The rare instance where someone is traveling, but even then, usually they've been in contact with another family member, and you can check in with that person if you can't contact them directly. So no matter what the story is, there's often a level of secrecy as well. I don't want you to tell mom and dad. Please don't share this, those types of things. If you get arrested here, or if someone gets arrested by the police in Canada, if they're underage, we have to release them to a parent. If they are an adult, we're not allowed to share that they've been arrested with anyone else. So you would never get a call here in Canada from that, like from those circumstances. It doesn't make sense, right? Often the language that they use is a little bit different because maybe they're calling from overseas and they don't quite understand. Here's some examples from recently. People were getting text messages, even coworkers were getting, family members of coworkers were getting these, "Hey mom, can you send me a message on my WhatsApp number?" In the beginning, it might just be a message to try to engage, right? It might not be asking for anything in the beginning. They might just want to connect. They might not ask for some time as we go. Here's another example. This happened to a coworker's mom. She received this text message. The next text message asked her to send some money because she had lost her phone. She went to the bank, started sending the e-transfer. The e-transfer didn't go through. For some reason, she'd gotten the address a little bit wrong. And the bank said, maybe you should just check in with your daughter and see what's going on. She phoned her daughter, and it wasn't actually from her daughter, right? So these are very common, and we see these all the time. These scams, you know, the first ones are anywhere from a couple hundred to a couple $1,000s in losses. These ones can be anywhere from several hundred to several thousand, 15,000. We've seen lately also ones where an Uber driver actually attends with someone coming to pick up cash from someone at the front door. So if you're ever asked to put cash in an envelope or put your card cut up in an envelope or anything that's just strange and different, just take a pause and do some research and check in with something like that first. The next ones are lottery scams. We see these a lot as well. If you didn't enter the contest, you can't win it. Simple as that, right? So we get lots of unsolicited text messages, pop-ups, emails saying you've won this Keurig, you've won this car, whatever, you've won a $500 gift card for PharmaSave. All those things are phishing, basically. Phishing, smishing, vishing, quishing. Have you heard of those terms? Those are all different social engineering terms to try to engage you. The scammers are basically doing SMS texting, which is smishing. Phone calls is phishing. Quishing is the QR codes. Vishing is voicemails. So they're just different methods of trying to engage you, right? For lottery scams, we see this a lot on social media. If we're playing a game, maybe we're playing Scrabble or Sudoku. We play all sorts of games on our devices now. How many people do that? Many of us, right? Just be very cautious When you're doing that, whether you're in an online environment or whether you're in with another bunch of people that you might not know, if you're playing Scrabble or some sort of game with one other friend and you're both taking turns or something like that, and you know who you're playing with, you know the handle that they're using, there's probably nothing wrong with that. But if you're in an open forum, you have to be very cautious what you share in that forum. Here's an example. This is from my Wordle game. I won a free 750 Amazon gift card. And I just had to click on this link. So that's a link, basically. It shows as a button to get in and to get this reward. But I don't want to share any information with the scammers. What are the scammers after? Money? That's the number one thing. What else? ID or information, right? And what does information mean? Yeah, your name, your date of birth, your address, your phone number, your license plate, your bank card, your visa number, your license, your SIN number, all those types of things. We want to share. We want to keep that private and safe. If you're going to your kids' Christmas concerts or your grandkids' Christmas concerts, the pack sometimes has a table for raffle and gift baskets. If you are entering that contest, you're buying a ticket for that gift basket, you're putting your name and number down. Remember that you've entered that contest. If you are going to the home show at Perks, you know, they have all sorts of vendors and different people there. Are you going to put your name in for the Yeti cooler or for the Crime Stoppers mug? You know, you have to evaluate who you're dealing with and what are they going to do with that information. Likely Crime Stoppers, I would say we could trust, right? But some business that you've never heard of before, you might want to really think about who you're sharing your information with. I'm not saying don't do it, just evaluate what you're doing. Always evaluate who and what you're sharing your information with. Anytime there's administrative fees or transfer fees or shipping fees, those sorts of things, be very cautious of that. That's often a method of, again, soliciting information, and they might send you something, but really what they're after is your information. Here's another example from Tim Hortons. I just had to confirm and hit this button, and then I could win a $75 gift card. I never actually entered that contest. I didn't do a roll up the rim. This just popped up on its own when I was playing a game. So again, if I buy a coffee and I'm doing roll up the rim, or I'm doing that on my phone or on my device, then I have trusted because I've entered that contest. If it's a random pop-up, be cautious. Just because it looks like it's actually Tim Hortons doesn't mean it actually is. I'm not saying this isn't, but it might not be. That's kind of the things we have to evaluate. Here's another example. So romance scams, the next two ones that we're going to talk about are our biggest loss types of scams. We have people that fall for these types of scams often have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars to millions of dollars. They often groom, the scammers will connect somehow, usually in some sort of unsolicited method. Maybe, hey, I like your Facebook profile, or hey, can we be friends, or hey, can we play this game together, or whatever the story is. But they want to connect, and then they talk and will slowly over time build that emotional connection until that point where they are actually starting to ask for money because maybe their dad is in the hospital or whatever the story is. There's so many different stories I've heard that it can get very random almost. They are actually grooming their victims, and they go for the long con, we call that in some ways, and they will become whatever they need to become in order to make that connection with people in order to get as much money in the end as they can. The story I'll tell you about this one is from an investigation. For these next ones, I don't want you to take any pictures, please, because these are actually from investigative, and we'll cut parts of these out. But there was a gentleman, he was meeting a girl on a dating app. And there's nothing wrong with meeting somebody on a dating app, but at some point you want to move and meet in person so that you can connect and evaluate before you start sharing, especially intimate images, or connecting with someone and building trust, right? That's how we do that. just in an online environment, we can't evaluate that trust. We just really don't know who's on the other end of that. So this young man, they met on this dating app. They moved to a different platform. After a while, she said, I'd like to move and start chatting in a different platform. It doesn't matter what platform, but if you get an unsolicited request and then you get asked to move to a different platform and continue communication in that, that's another potential red flag. Just because one red flag is there doesn't necessarily make it bad. But if there's multiple ones, just be very cautious. So her story was that she had lost her job. This was during COVID. She lost her apartment because she lost her job. Then she was living in her car. Then she was living in the parking lot of a church. And then the church people felt sorry for her and let her live in the basement of the church. And all this came out in about a year and a half. So not immediately, little bit at a time, right? I'm telling it in a couple minutes. In that time, they had exchanged images, and her story was that she was from Austin, Texas. She wanted to immigrate to Canada. She didn't know quite how to fill out all the paperwork and do all the different things that she needed to do. So she started sending him images and certain things so that he could help her fill out paperwork and do those kind of things for her. This is one of the images that she sent him. She looks like quite a pretty young girl there. Doesn't look like a destitute girl living in a basement or in her car to me. She's got a fancy hair job, fancy nails, nice clothes. So the story doesn't quite match the picture, right? This is another picture that she sent him. I don't even know that these two are the same girl. What do you think? It's hard to tell, right? So in total, there was 16 pictures, and I wasn't sure that they were all actually the same picture or the same girl. In the end, the money that he had sent was through cryptocurrency. How many people understand or know what cryptocurrency is? Few. Cryptocurrency is virtual currency that was created about 15, 16 years ago. It was created in Europe. It's brilliant technology. It is technology that was created. There was a fellow in one country and he wanted to purchase something in a different country, and he wanted to make that purchase and not pay the exchange rate between those two different countries when they made that transaction. So both the seller and the buyer did that. They made the transaction. Everybody was happy. It is brilliant technology because no matter how much time has passed, we can actually trace that currency. The problem is that it's like, it's not fiat, it's almost like casino chips. So fiat is what we call cash. If we take fiat and we walk into a casino, we can purchase casino chips, then we can take those chips and we can use that within the casino to play different games. At the end of the night, we can change those chips back into cash or fiat. So an exchange is what we call sort of a bank for cryptocurrency. And the problem is that exchanges now are all over the world, and often in countries where, again, we have no jurisdictional oversight or any sort of planning or oversight. So it's kind of like the wild, wild west. So often these exchanges are used for money laundering and for organized crime to do all sorts of things with their money. And they move money very fast, and they move it through these exchanges to try to clean it and move it to different parts of the world. So we can see where it's gone, but we can't actually recover it back. The money that we traced for this gentleman, he'd sent close to $38,000. In that time, he had sent repeated transactions, smaller transactions, often for plane tickets so that she could fly and they could actually meet, but some sort of excuse would always come up. You know, the plane got canceled, or I got sick, or there was always a reason why it didn't work out, and she never made it and actually came. This is according to him. After about a year and a half, he was so suspicious that he finally came into the police and said, you know, I have a couple red flags. I'm worried that there is actually this girl, but maybe I'm getting scammed. And we were able to trace this money to Nigeria. So we think this is maybe who received the money. Can we actually tell that? No. This is the KYC after we did a judicial authorization to get that. KYC is know your customer, who owns that account that received the money. Is it still there? Is that a real person? Are the Nigerian police going to help us to arrest that person? No. So it's gone, right? So he lost all that money. But he now at least knows that there's no poor girl there that needs help. So in that sense, we can often provide closure that way. We can't often recover money. And they are very, very good at telling their stories and manipulating emotions to get people to send money, right? They use that emotional trust for things to do that.
Sound like my broker too.
Oh, it's all part of their trap. So you'll invest in a bunch of crap. But all's not lost thanks to the BC Securities Commission. They can help us fight AI scammers and their evil plan. They say we should take it slow. Think for a minute or two. And do all the research that we can do. All that we can do. We're not all. If we have a plan, we will learn from the BCSC about AI investment scams.
So the BC Securities Commission are our partners. We often work with them closely for investment scams. This is a new commercial that was just brought out for the month of March, which is Anti-Fraud Month. Last year they had other commercials. They're great little snippets, so you don't have to hear my voice the whole time. The next one we're going to talk about are investment scams. Again, huge, huge losses to the point of hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars from some victims. Devastating, devastating files to work on. And they often start in all sorts of different ways and again move platforms. The story I'll tell you about this one is a fellow that had recently retired from the BC government. His wife was in hospice. So I think he was a little bit lonely. He was playing Scrabble online and somehow it became known that he was interested in learning about online investing. And so he was approached in Scrabble that said, hey, I'm an investment advisor. I'd love to help teach you how that works. So he thought, great, that's pretty cool. So he was asked to move to a different platform and then they started exchanging text messages through WhatsApp, or it doesn't really matter what the platform is, and also through email. And then that online investment advisor said, I want to show you a website that you can learn about and I'll show you an app. And so he did that. He looked at that website and he looked at the app and he installed the app and thought that looked pretty swift. So he put a little bit of money in, checked it. He could see it on the website, see it on the app. Worked really well. He linked his bank account so he could make those transfers a little bit easier just by sending e-transfers. Works just like we do in banking, very smoothly. He started doing a little bit more. He checked, again, he could see it online, could see it on the app. He wanted to make sure he didn't want to get scammed, so he tried to remove some money out, did that a few times. Everything worked very smoothly. So he thought, this is pretty slick. I'm going to do a little bit more. So he started doing a bit bigger amounts. Every couple weeks, every couple months, he did, maybe $15,000 or $20,000. He'd put about $250,000 in about a year. His investment on the portfolio and on the app showed he was worth just under $1 million. So he thought, eureka, almost too good to be true, right? Another big caution. He thought, okay, I want to stop. I want to take my money out now because now I can give my daughter a down payment so she can buy a house. And I'm going to be golden for my retirement years. So he thought, perfect. So he started trying to take money out, only now it wasn't working. Suddenly he had to pay administrative fees or transfer taxes or transfer fees. Remember all those things we talked about in the lottery scams? All those types of things started happening. And they were smaller amounts, $4,000, $4,500, $4,300. So he thought, okay, and he paid them. And when he paid them, he saw his investment continue to increase. So he was up to about $285,000 that he had now put in of his own money. And his investment online and in the app showed he was worth well over $1 million. So he thought, well, $285,000 for $1 million, that's pretty good. But he could never get it out. So he finally came to the police after both his wife and his daughter kept saying, "Dad, you're getting scammed." And yes, he was. It was all a scam. So the BC Securities Commission was able to help us shut the website right down. We were able to notify other victims that were also part of the same scam across Canada, and get the app shut down as well. Now, just as fast, the scammers start a new website, start new apps, and start grooming new victims, right? We saw millions of dollars in that fund that was receiving, which was again a cryptocurrency fund. So cryptocurrency right now is the wild, wild west. And I would strongly recommend that you do not invest your money in cryptocurrency at this time, because anything that goes into it cannot come out. We have not had any success. My partner in financial crimes was able to get $150 out of a $30,000 scam. That's it. So it's slowly, the exchanges are starting to cooperate with law enforcement. And I think we are seeing a global use of cryptocurrency, and they are trying hard to get some oversight into it. And I suspect in the next 15, 20 years, our crypto accounts will be linked to our bank cards. It's not going to go away. So start learning about it, start understanding it, but don't put your money in it right now, because it's still too wild, wild west right now. Research. How many people use a bank? Most of us do, right? And we use that bank because we've established a relationship with them. Maybe we have a mortgage, maybe we've moved into that neighborhood. There's a reason why we have established a relationship with a bank and a branch, and we might have an advisor, a financial advisor through that or through some other platform. So why would we not go to those people if we're going to do some sort of investment, right? Always do lots of research in lots of different ways before you start doing any sort of investment like this. The BC Securities Commission often does notifications for websites and for scam sites that they find. They are often combing as well for that, and they will do notifications. If your advisor is not regulated under the Regulation Commission or the Broker Commission, you might want to be very cautious of that.
When you do have a bank that you've had establishment for quite some time,
Yeah.
and they're culpable, or are they culpable when they're involved in this, a scam?
They often will support. So most of the big 5 banks that we deal with, Royal Bank, TD, Scotia, CIBC, Bank of Montreal, the big 5, they are very good at supporting their clients and dealing with law enforcement. If you are dealing with an online bank, it's a bit more difficult, and you have to advocate for yourself if you've been victimized by something that you've fallen victim to. You have to really get on with them, and maybe we'll talk more about that as we go at the end. Just, if it's too good to be true, if it's unsolicited, all those types of things, just be very, very cautious with investment scams, right? We all work long and hard for our money. It takes us a long time to get to the point where we can retire comfortably. You can't just make money like that, like it's not real. If it's too good to be true, it's probably a scam. Okay?
No.
Yeah.
I think it's important that everybody that's here
Yeah.
finds or hears, let's say, a story such as mine.
Okay.
Because it can be
Can we?
helpful to them.
Yes, and we'll do that at the end,
Okay,
right?
not just that, okay.
No, at the end we'll do
Yeah,
lots
yeah.
of stories. We'll have open question time for that for
Okay.
sure. So how do scams come in? Phone calls, text messages, emails. Those are the most common that we see right now. Social media is sort of the other one. We all have access to technology. We all use technology every day, and that ability allows the scammers to also use that technology. So it's great technology, but again, it can be used by the scammers. So let's listen to a scam phone call, though you probably have all heard one before.
This message is for you from the Criminal Investigation Department of Revenue Canada. The reason behind this call is to notify you that we have registered a criminal case against your name concerning tax deficiency and tax fraud.
So what do you notice about the sound of that call? Sounds artificial. Automated. Yeah, it's a computer calling you, right? So I often hear people asking me the question, why are you not arresting my neighbor? I'm getting a phone call at 6 o'clock every morning or 3 o'clock every morning. It's repeatedly phoning, and it's 250-360-0111, whatever. It's a local Victorian number. Why can you not trace that to my neighbor and go arrest them? They're harassing me. It's not your neighbor. It is voice over internet protocol. So it's a computer technology, Skype, Messenger, FaceTime. That ability exists for a computer to make that call. And that call can be hidden behind different ISP addresses that can be hidden from all over and bounced all over the world. You know, when you look on CSI, on TV, they make it look really easy to trace those numbers. There is ability sometimes to do that in very special circumstances, but TV always makes it look easier than it actually is. That voice over internet protocol, or VoIPing, is that computer technology that allows that computer to make that phone call. With that, they have the ability to line trap and spoof numbers. And what that means is, on your call display, when you see a number coming in, it could say the Royal Bank. It could say the Saanich Police. Lately, we've had scammers calling, and it looks like it's the Saanich Police calling. And it's not. We would never do calls like that, right? We've had a call a couple months ago where a victim answered the phone. This is RBC Security. It said RBC on the call display, so she thought she was talking to her bank. She answered. They said, "We've noticed a transaction that might be unauthorized. Did you make this transaction?" She said, "No." They said, "Okay, we'll cancel that transaction. Do you have any other bank accounts we should be monitoring?" "Oh, yes." And then she provided that, and then they took the money out of those accounts. So if in doubt, if it's unsolicited and you're not expecting it, don't trust it. Right now it's tax time. We could be calling the CRA to ask for some assistance. We could leave a message because it's 4 hours in the queue of standing there waiting, right? We don't want to answer, or we don't want to wait that long. We leave a message. They call us back. When they call us back, we're expecting that call, even though it could be a couple hours later. They're going to ask you all your emergency questions, your SIN number, your address, your date of birth, because they have to ensure that they're actually talking to you, not to some scammer, right? But that's not unexpected. If in doubt, you independently call the number, you do some checking, or you go in person and check. Nowadays, what we see and hear and feel cannot always be real anymore. That's what we used to teach in the olden days. If you could see it, hear it, feel it. But now with AI, we're not there anymore, right? Things have changed. So unsolicited really is your best protection, right? Any of these other strange things that we've talked about a lot in some of the examples I've already given, if they have any of these things, these are all red flags for you to be cautious of. They're often trying to make you act or think really quickly, right? That's their purpose, because most of the time, if you look back at it, you kind of go, yeah, it just didn't feel quite right. Something didn't quite sound right, or yeah, this is not normally how I pay my bill, or normally how I do this. But they said I had to, right? They're going to try to pressure you to do that fast and hurry up and try to act. Nothing in the financial world is so urgent you have to act right now. What happens if you don't pay your taxes?
Your fee.
Sorry?
You pay extra fees.
Yeah, you get charged interest. And what do? They send you a letter in your online account or in the mail, and then you just have to pay that interest, and life kind of goes on. What happens if you don't pay your phone bill? Tomorrow? Yeah, they send you the next bill for the next month, and probably the next month after that, and it just gets added on for a while. Then eventually you pay it, and then you're okay again. They're not going to cut you off. It's going to take some time, right? That's the myth we sort of think. But in reality, if you've been a good customer and client for a long time, it takes some time. Nothing is so urgent in the financial world that you have to act right now. Nothing. Even in my 911 world, really, nothing is so urgent. I have to act right now. I always have time to look into something and check it out first. Text messages, again, often unsolicited. If we have our friends and family contacts in our cell phones or on our landlines, they allow that ability to have that on our phones. If you get some strange message, it might just be like, "Oh, sorry, I thought I was trying to contact the dentist office," or "Oh, sorry, I thought I was trying to reach my friend," Or, oh, excuse me, are you busy? Oh, I have a job. Or whatever the story, right? They're just trying to engage. They're just throwing the line out, fishing, hoping to hook somebody. They might send, 2 years ago, they would send Victoria. Now with AI, they're sending Vancouver Island or BC. That's the level we've changed to. So during December, the Canada Post strike, we saw lots of these types of text messages coming in. If you order a parcel on Amazon or any reputable business, you put your address in, you put everything in that you should in order to be able to get that parcel. They shouldn't send you a text message, right? Now, if you've set up receiving notifications about its arrival or its transport along the way, you might get those notifications if you've set that up within your profile. But an unsolicited text message, especially something with a link, is suspicious and you should not click on those links. If you click on the links, you could be inadvertently going to a website that looks very legitimate. With AI now, they can create it so it looks real. But likely it's not, right? It's a fake website. Here's one from the summer again. Your RBC client card starting with 4519 has been restricted. So all RBC client cards start with 4519. So often when we read them out loud to ourselves, we can tell, oh, there's something a little bit off, but it looks pretty real, doesn't it? Again, there's a link. Anything with a link is suspicious. And often if we read text messages or emails out loud to ourselves, we'll recognize that, oh, maybe the grammar's a little bit off or there's something just not quite right. But that's getting also fixed with AI.
But it seems so simple and doable.
I know, it does, doesn't it? So they're trying. They're trying everything that they possibly can. Here's another one. This is from January. If we arrest someone, again, we release them on paperwork. We would never send out text messages. Police never do that. So this seems bizarre that this would even work to me because people that get arrested know that and people that don't should recognize, well, I didn't get arrested, so this doesn't apply to me, right? Like it's kind of common sense, but people fall for all sorts of crazy things because they get scared or they get worried.
What about the King and Victoria, that text message that you have outstanding parking tickets?
Yep.
A lot of people actually fell for that.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
Yeah.
And that came out because the provincial government released a website that we could pay tickets online. Here's the legitimate website, and then the scammers went, ooh, we could maybe use this to get free, right? So it changes every day, all the time. I had those in my presentation probably 2 months ago, but now I've got new ones again. Like it changes that fast. So emails. Emails, again, are programs, whatever we use, Outlook, Gmail, Hotmail, are pretty good at screening out junk stuff if we keep up to date with our systems and our programs on our computer. We want to keep our computers up to date. We want to keep the programs on them up to date because they often will increase and update their security settings automatically within those systems. Netflix, this is a bit older one from 2023, but still very relevant because many of us stream Netflix, Crave, Prime. There's so many different streaming services, right? How do you sign up for those systems or those services? Online. And what do you have to do? Yeah, you give them a credit card. So unless your credit card's expired or you've canceled your subscription, you shouldn't be getting this, right? And if you get an email from a reputable business, it should say, Dear Ms. Zwaan, not Dear Customer. The font is different. Do you notice that? And again, but as part of our loyalty program, you can now extend for 90 days for free. Nothing like that's ever free. And then there's a link. It looks like a button, but it is a link. The trick, this is going to get better and better. AI is going to make that so that we can't even see all those errors and those types of things. But what's not going to change is we can actually hover our mouse over top of that name and the email address associated to the back. If you're looking on your phone, you can just hold your finger on that email address and it will show you the email address associated to that name. So here, because this is a screenshot, I have to actually show you, but it should make sense, right? If it's from the Saanich Police, it should be my first initial, my last name, B. Zwaan at saanichpolice.ca. If it's from your bank representative, it should be their name, however that works usually, at cibc.com. If it's from Netflix, it should be from service@netflix.com or info@netflix.com or something that makes sense, not some strange email address, @ygteacher.com, right? Doesn't make sense. So that will not change. They'll still always have to use some strange email address. And so you can block that, you can move those into your junk folders, and your systems will start learning, but just as quickly they'll generate a new number or a new email address and it'll keep coming. So just keep trying. Never click on those links because they're phishing for your information. Same story, different method. Here is a text message. Again, it's some strange email address and there's a link. So I don't even engage, I don't respond, I just block it and I move it right into my delete folder. Social media. In November, December, we had our Chinese community members fall victim to something like this, not this exact one, but they lost millions of dollars in an investment scam. And it was a famous person. I think that advertisement was actually Justin Trudeau and Wealth Simple or something like that. But it was a famous person basically endorsing a product. And AI can create almost anything nowadays. So just because we see it in social media or on the news or in a feed or in an advertisement doesn't mean it's real. We have to do some critical thinking and some exploration to see if it's real or not. So this is, I don't know if this is legitimate or not, but I show that because it's similar to what happened where we had people victimized by that. Here's another example. This is from my Facebook feed. I actually have 5 of these chairs at home. I'm a Costco member. Many people probably here are. How many? Yeah, so many of us shop at Costco. So we kind of know what's real or what's not. This looks legitimate. This price is almost too good to be true. I have 5 of these and I paid $159 or $169 each for them, but I thought, wow, that's a good deal. I could get a few more. I live on an acre, have a big fire pit. I could have some of these too. So I started to click on the button. Next thing I know, it's wanting my name, my address, my credit card, and I thought, oh, what am I doing, Berle? So I backed out, and it's not actually Costco, it's the Quick City store. So it's an advertisement made to look like Costco, and I might have gotten something in the mail, but I probably would not have gotten those chairs, right? So again, anything from social media, be very cautious. If you don't know the business or you're being redirected to something else, be very cautious who you're purchasing things from. Now this one I share, we had a situation over the last couple months where a lady was contacted through Facebook where a friend, it looked like it was her friend, so somebody through SMS messaging, which is the text messaging portion of Facebook. Do people understand Facebook? Yeah. Reached out and said, hey, I'm your friend. I won $100,000. You could win $100,000 too. So she thought, wow, that's pretty cool. Tried to check in a little bit with what was happening. Tried to phone her friend. The number didn't work. The friend, so she couldn't actually talk to the friend. But the friend, through this messenger chat, said, you need to call and connect in with this grant officer. They'll give you the paperwork and information to fill out. You need to probably pay a little bit of cash to win this winnings. She went and started to take the money out. And her husband said, well, maybe we should check into this a little bit more. Let's go into the police department and ask about this, and it turned out to be a scam. It wasn't actually the friend that was connecting in to say, hey, you could win this too, right? It was somebody pretending to be the friend. So even though she tried to confirm that it was her friend, she wasn't able to. And so again, like, nobody's gonna suddenly reach out and offer you $100,000. That's just not reality, right? As much as we all wish and hope, but they play on our hopes and our dreams. And we have to be very cautious about that. I show this one. This is not necessarily a scam, and I have another whole different presentation I could do on websites. It's a bit tricky in this kind of an avenue, but I have done a website safety presentation. But if you are going onto a website, the story I have to tell in relation to this, the wife was in a presentation like this. She went home, told her husband about all that she had learned. He said, oh, I think I might have just fallen for something. I was on the Times Colonist website, and I went to renew my Times Colonist subscription, and he went and hit this start button. And he didn't notice that this URL changed. So this is the address that he started at, which is the correct address for the Times Colonist. And he hit the start button. Does anybody know what that is? Anybody see what that is? Sorry?
A link.
It's a link, yeah. So you're right, it's a button link. But can everybody see what this is? It's an ad. It's a banner ad. We call that a banner ad. So just like in the old-fashioned newspapers, we saw advertisements for things. In the digital world, we have advertisements as well. And so this is not necessarily a bad ad. It's a bit sneaky in the sense that it's right there and it looks like how you renew your Times Colonist subscription. But before you interact with any page on a website, before you actually put your information or your credit card in, you want to read all the way down to the bottom. And had he done that, he would have seen payment information cannot be registered online at this time. Please call the office to register. He didn't see that part. So Times Colonist has since removed this because he phoned me about this the next day, did a screenshot, that's why I'm using this. But it's very common for people to be on a website, think they're purchasing something or think they're doing something, and in turn, they've actually mistakenly done something different, or they've clicked on a pop-up and the URL, this address has changed. So when he hit this start button, it changed to this address, contentlists.com. But he didn't notice that. So all I'm going to say for this one is just, if you're going to put your credit card and your information into a website, make sure you understand the page that you're on and confirm that it is the correct page. And if you don't, then reach out and get some help, because it can change very quickly. So you're always checking that as you're going. Let's talk a little bit about AI. This again is an older picture, but in the times right now, it's kind of still relevant. Basically what we see, we cannot necessarily trust, right? This is not real. Trump and Biden would not be making apple pie together. I have a little video to help illustrate that a little bit better.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, babe.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm okay.
Well, you don't sound too good. What, are they still hassling you?
Yeah, cops here right now.
Hi. I'm the cop.
I'll call you back later.
Wait, don't hang up. Ask him if he has an older brother. Also, ask him how he came up with the handle Truth Saber 101.
Fire escape's open. Looks like we missed him by bees. Jake's gone.
No, he's not.
He's right here.
Jake is AI.
So that's a pretty good little video to show how AI can be used. We know the scammers are using it. I've seen all sorts of interesting things where certain apps are being used in our youth today for sextortion and those types of things. You know, 2 pictures suddenly can be made to look like they're kissing or more. So AI has lots of very cool abilities within our medical field, and within many areas, AI is brilliant. But just like any technology, it can be used by the scammers against us. So we have to be cautious. And what do? First of all, we want to use multi-factor authentication. So many of our systems, when we log in, require you to log in with your ID, put in your password, and then it will send you a code either to your cell phone or to your email address, and then you have to put that code in. The reason it's doing that is because right now, scammers are often phishing for our passwords, right? In social media are lots of different avenues. They're trying to find passwords, or passwords have been leaked out. if they don't have our devices, they could be trying to log in, but without getting that code, they can't actually finish logging in. So it's an extra level of protection. Many of the good banking systems, our pensions, our medical histories, our CRA have that ability. Mostly they're making you do it, like you have to do it. But if you don't have to, I strongly encourage you to do it if it's available, because it is a very good tool for protecting yourself. I know within the next 6 months, I was on Tech Talk a couple weeks ago with Alan Perry, and he shared with me that Google is actually moving to where you have to have multi-factor authentication set up, and it won't be allowed to go to text message or emails anymore, because they're finding if people's emails are compromised, then you have to use an authenticator app. And so within the next 6 months to a year, I suspect many systems will be doing that. Our policing system has gone to that as well. So when we log into our computer, I have to use my authenticator app in order to log in. So again, it's one more security system and feature. If it's available, use it. I strongly encourage you to use it. So next, we're going to talk about passwords. We are slowly, we have changed to increasing the number of characters within our passwords. I have a handout for this, so we're going to go through this fast. It's going to be a lot of information, but it's all on the handout. In policing, we used to have only 8 character passwords. We now have to have at least 12 character passwords. So uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and characters. I strongly encourage you to have good, long passwords, to have different passwords for each of your different logins. That's a lot to remember. So I'm going to teach you a little method that Alan Perry taught me recently. This is what I'm being taught in my financial crimes world is a good password. Yellow chocolate number 56 Cadillac fish. That's the kind of passwords we want you to use. Not just a single word, not just a number, not a character. So many of us don't have that level of password. It's something for you to think about and slowly work towards. You can actually go to a website called Have I Been Pawned to see if your passwords or your email information is actually out on the dark web. There is an A missing here. That's on purpose, but you can type in your email address or your password and see if that exists out in the World Wide Web. If it does, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've been hacked. It just means that you need to change your passwords. You can also go to a website called security.org/howsecureismypassword. You can go to that and then type in your password, and it will give you a measure of what one computer, how much time it would take for one computer to crack that password using AI. This chart shows multiple computers working on it. So a 12-character password, it would take 164 million years for AI to crack that password, right? So the bigger your password is, the more robust and the longer it would take for somebody to crack it. If it's only 6 characters, it would only take 12 hours for AI to crack that password. So that's what this chart is showing. And AI has drastically shifted that. When I first started this in 2024, all these column numbers were down significantly, right? Alan Perry's password formula, we'll talk about that a little bit more. Biometrics, our fingers, our fingerprints, our faces are opening our devices. That's sort of another level of multi-factor authentication. If you're logging into a system and you're typing in your user ID, then your password, and then you have to put your face in there, it knows you're actually sitting in front of the device. It's not a scammer breaking into your device, right? So it's another layer of protection, and I think we'll move slowly more and more towards that again. A password manager. If you use Alan Perry's formula, you probably don't need a password manager because all you have to do is remember your secret formula, and we'll talk about that very briefly here. So he has kind of a neat thing that it took him and his team about 3 years to create. It's very cool. I just learned this about a month ago, which is why, and he's given me permission to teach it. You can take a piece of paper. You can do this at home because I've put it on the handouts. You can take a piece of paper, you choose a symbol. Everybody's going to have a different symbol that they like to use. Then you're going to count the number of characters on the place where you're logging into. So if you're going into Microsoft, M-I-C-R, Microsoft, right? However many characters that is, let's say 9. You're going to write down that number. And it's going to be different if you're logging into a different site. If you're logging into Saanich, it's S-A-A-N-I-C-H. Then it's only 7. See how it changes for different sites? So you're going to keep a piece of paper that has these rules on it. Then you're going to note the last letter of that site or the app that wants your password. You're going to capitalize it and you're going to write that down. So let's say for Saanich, that's an H. You're going to write down a capital H. Then everybody's going to choose a different 3 or 4, I would suggest 4-character number. We all have our favorite numbers that we use. So write that down. Again, you don't want to share this with anyone else. And then you can, if you think you might forget it, write a clue down to help you remember it. And then pick a word that means something to you. So it could be, you know, chocolate. It could be your fish's name. It could be whatever. Think of something that means something to you that nobody else might necessarily know. Write that word down, but capitalize the first and last letter. And then again, repeat your secret symbol. If you create yourself a set of rules for creating a password, then all you have to do is remember those rules. And then every time you have to create a new password, if you follow that same set of rules, you will always remember what it is. That make sense? Here's sort of another way to look at it. So Microsoft, M-I-C-R-O-S-O-F-T. Symbol, I have my secret symbol, my number of letters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I write down the number 9. The last letter is a T. I capitalize that. My secret number is, I'm not going to tell you what it is. My secret word is, again, I'm not going to share that with you, but you all have one in your head, I'm sure. And then my symbol again. And so when you log into Microsoft, that becomes your password. And if you follow that same formula, all you have to do is remember that formula, and no matter where you log into, you should know your password. But nobody else knows it because nobody else knows these things. Right? Make sense? And there's enough other things in there that it'll always be different. And it's hard enough that AI can't guess it easily. So it's pretty smart, I think. So that's on a handout. Go practice, go try it out, see what works. Never relinquish control of your computer. We often have people reporting to us at the front desk, you know, Shaw called, Rogers called, TELUS called. They wanted to update their system. I gave them control of my computer. Microsoft called, Apple called. Whoever is calling, if it's unsolicited, never give control of your computer or your device to them. Now, if you phoned a technician to come to the house and they're coming to help you, then it's different. You need to have a level of trust there. If I phone my IT person, I know who that is. I might give them access to my computer because I know his voice, I know his number that I'm phoning him at. But if I get an unsolicited call, Never share your PIN. The bank will not support you if you share your PIN. As we get older, we may become and get into situations where we need support. We have caregivers, we have people coming in doing groceries or doing something in the home. The bank will help you, if you ask, set up a separate account that will have a limited amount, or a separate card that will have a limited amount that you could give to that person so they only have access to a portion of your funds. And in certain circumstances, that might be appropriate. Same with a card. If you're using your Visa card online, maybe have a separate card that has a lower limit so that if it's compromised, it's not going to get into all of your money. Those sorts of things. Start thinking about those, how you can make those decisions. Never deposit a check or money orders. Let's say I'm using Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, used Victoria, doesn't matter what. I want to sell my computer. I put it on one of those platforms and I list it for $400. I get a message from someone that says, oh, I'd be interested in buying that computer. I'll send you $1,000 by Interact e-transfer. You send me the change, I'll come pick up the computer tomorrow. What's wrong with that? Yeah, we get people reporting those kinds of frauds to us every week. So if somebody's contacting you and they want to send you money, if it's not the right amount, or even if they're sending you an Interact transfer, it should come in certain ways. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. But if it's coming from an unknown source, it's unexpected and not coming in the normal method, be very cautious. If it's too much or too little or something, or they want to send it even though they haven't even come to look at the product, that's weird too, right? Transactions like that can take 20 or 30 minutes to land. If it gets sent, you actually allow the person to leave. They could rescind it, and you could be out the product and the money. So you want to let it do the transaction, let it land before you actually exchange that product. Come and do it in the lobby of the police department or at Tim Hortons where there's cameras, those types of things. Do it in a public place. Never share personal information. I think I've harped on that a lot. Always use your original ID. So really the bank or your employer is the only person that needs that primary information, right? If somebody else is asking it over the phone, it's really strange. And even the bank over the phone shouldn't ask for that. That might be in person when you're at the bank with the teller and you're opening an account. Otherwise, never, ever, ever, anytime. Don't do transactions over the phone. Now, some seniors do use phone banking. I think they're going to move away from that as we keep moving forward because of AI and because of voice recognition. If you have posted something in Facebook Marketplace or in Facebook or Instagram or any kind of social media, if it's a video of you talking, if it's you moving, if it's your kids or your grandkids in those platforms, they could use that and then take that and create something to phone you or video you, and it could look like them.
Do we not have like a voicemail on our phone then?
Well, right? That's what I'm saying. If you don't recognize the number, just let it go right to voicemail. And on our cell phones, when you actually are receiving a phone call and it's coming in, when somebody calls in, there's a little button that pops up in the corner that shows voicemail for iPhone people. And you can actually hit voicemail and it'll start transcribing. And if it is your doctor's office or something that is important, they'll start talking and you should be able to go, oh, it is my doctor's office, and then you can actually still answer. But nothing, even if it is the hospital phoning about your MRI, they can leave a message and you can call back. Nothing is so urgent that you have to react right now. If you remember that, that's probably your best protection.
I think I was saying, or referring to you leaving a voicemail message so they could copy. Right? You know,
Well,
say,
so,
hi, so-and-so.
yeah, so I used to like, hi, you've reached and I'd list all my kids and everything. Now it's like, hi, you've got my cell number if it's urgent. That's it.
We're
Very,
not leaving your voice at all.
yeah, maybe the automatic one that comes with the machine. Yeah, that's right. So those are the things that we're thinking about that are constantly changing. So I don't know what the right answer for that is, but it's certainly something that we're looking at all the time. We've had these again lately a lot. One happened to my coworker. It really can happen to anyone. There is no shame or embarrassment. We really need you to talk about it and tell us about it. It doesn't matter what your background is, but the more we know, the more we can educate ourselves and hopefully learn and not fall victim to these. This is one, I was expecting an Interact e-transfer. So my son lives in Halifax. I was sending him some cupcakes for his 18th birthday. She ended up not making as many, so she wanted to send me a refund. She had phoned me and emailed me to tell me that, and ended up sending it to my email that I used to originally pay her, but it's not the one that I normally use for my banking. So if you use Interact e-transfers, you definitely want to set up auto deposit so that it just automatically lands in the account. If it comes to a different financial institution or a different method, you have to enter this financial institution in. So it's a really good way for scammers to fish for that information, right? So this is legitimate. I knew it was right, so I actually hit that button and accepted that Interact e-transfer because I knew where it was coming from and who it was that contacted me. Here's an example of one that wasn't real. So this was another coworker that worked next door. She was selling some items on Facebook Marketplace. She was contacted by somebody that said, oh, I really like those. I want to purchase them from you. I don't want you to sell them to somebody else. Can you hold them for me? I'll send you an Interact e-transfer. I'm going to come tomorrow because I can't come today to pick them up. She's like, yeah, sure. They're only $15. So she got this Interact e-transfer in SMS Messenger, which is weird, right? You should never get an Interact e-transfer in SMS Messenger. Where do Interact e-transfers come? Email or cell number. They come one of two ways, email or cell number. So if you have it automatically set up that way, it will deposit into that account. If it comes to an email address that it doesn't recognize or that it's not associated to your account, you have to put in your email address and your information. So this, she clicked this link and it went to a page that looked exactly like this. She clicked select financial institution, put in BMO, put in her account number, put in her password. Now the scammer had her information. She didn't actually get the deposit for this item, but now the scammer was taking money out of her account because now the scammer had all of her financial information. So that's the danger. We have to be very careful and cautious before we just automatically accept an e-transfer. So this one happened to my physio yesterday. He said, same thing. I was listing something in Facebook Marketplace and I got sent this page. Now I blocked his name, but it looks legitimate, doesn't it? You have to select the financial institution. How can you tell if you look at this that this is not real? Anybody know?
The email address.
Yes, the email address here, right? What should it say? Where should it come from? Interact.ca, right? Not some strange email address. So he's like, this doesn't feel right to me. Can you look at this? And I said, oh yeah, no, that's a scam. Do not click on that link. Even though it looks very legitimate, he could have hit that button, and then again, it would have brought him to like this, and he would have put his financial information in, and they could have had access into his account. So it's so easy, right? Like the scammers are so prevalent and so good at what they do, and we almost can't keep up. So we just really have to always start with caution and be careful. Gift cards, almost our last thing here. We're getting to the end. Gift cards, we see lots of these types of scams as well. So how many people buy gift cards for their grandkids or their kids for stocking stuffers or birthday parties? Nothing wrong with gift cards doing that. The problem is when somebody sends you a request, maybe by text or email, and says, hey, can you go get some gift cards? Maybe you're part of an association or a club or a group, and somebody within that association or your building says, oh, I'm sick, I have COVID or whatever, I can't get out, I'm going to my granddaughter's birthday party, can you go buy me $300 of gift cards? You might go and do that. Be very cautious if you don't know or haven't received that request in person. Always check in an independent way. So if you get that request by email, then again, you independently look up the phone number on your device and you phone who that person is, supposedly. Because likely that email has been hacked and a scammer is making that request on your behalf. If somebody asks you to send the back, scratch off the code and send the back of a gift card to them by email or by pictures or something, they want the value of that card. They're not using it for some legitimate purpose, right? So no matter the story, always again do some independent checking. If you're using that card yourself for something or you're giving it as a gift to someone you know, that's different. But if you get a request in some method, that's kind of sketchy. And we see those all the time. A couple $100 to a couple $1,000. And people are often embarrassed because they think, I should have known better or whatever. There's no shame. So lots of information. I can see people are starting to fade here. Our recognition is our biggest power, right? So being able to recognize those red flags, all those same things that keep popping up in all the stories and the examples I showed you, if there's threats, demands, pressure, if it's unsolicited, if it's asking for money or personal information. Really, we shouldn't be sharing that with anybody that we do not know personally, face-to-face, or in some special circumstance through prior arrangement, right? Any links, payments in non-traditional ways, cryptocurrency, gift cards, like, oh, your bank account's gonna crash, we have to catch this teller who's dirty, you need to take your money out and put it in a cryptocurrency machine to keep it safely. That's not real. This is the RCMP. We're doing a secret investigation on this bank. Same thing. Like none of it makes sense, but people fall for it every day, right? So no matter the story, slow things down, check things out. I'm giving you permission to be rude. We don't often hear that. We often hear that we have to be kind and nice to our neighbors. If it's in these circumstances, you've answered the phone and you think, oh, this is what she was talking about, click, hang up right in the middle. You'll hear that delay sometimes. You'll hear that click when it's somebody actually picking up the phone, but usually it's just a computer calling you. Be rude, don't open, don't respond, don't delete, or delete. Don't send money to anyone that you do not know face-to-face. Don't click on any links, and if a call looks suspicious, don't answer it. If you follow those things, you will be safe. If you are unfortunately victimized, the number one thing that we want you to do is phone the financial institution first. The faster they get notified about it, the faster they can freeze that money. And we know likely within 24 to 72 hours, money is out of North America. Most people don't even recognize that they've been scammed until well after that. And so by the time they notify the police or the bank, it's gone, right? We do,
How did you say it goes usually?
within 24 to 72 hours, it's out of North America. So likely we can't recover the money for you, but we do want to know about it because we can help it stop continuing. We can help maybe other people from being victimized. And if you fall victim to a scam here in Saanich, you're in Calgary, you're in Kingston, Ontario, then and you all report to the police and the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, they will actually link us together as investigators and say, oh, these people have all fallen victim to the same scam, and we can maybe launch a national investigation. And we've had some success that way, but it's hard because it's gone very fast. Things move very fast in this world. Equifax and TransUnion are credit bureaus. Under the banks, if you go and apply for a loan product, if you've been compromised, if your identity or you've been defrauded, we want your credit score to have a fraud alert flag put on it so that if somebody's trying to apply for a product in your name, the bank will scrutinize them extra carefully to make sure it's actually them and not you, right? Because most people, the reason they're stealing that information, the scammers, is to get loan products, like to get credit cards, to get mortgages, to get car loans in your name. And they might only use parts of your name or parts of your identity information, but that's why we want to keep that as close to our chest as possible. And the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, I spoke about that for linking different jurisdictions and just keeping stats for us. And they also have lots of good support for victims. Whew. Lots of info. So this is the last thing. So when you are scared or overwhelmed, we get into our lizard brain, right? We're not thinking clearly, we're not acting rationally necessarily, we're just reacting. So no matter what happens, I want you all to put your hand up. Everybody do it, come on. Stop, I'm gonna wake you up. Stop, no matter what. Put your hand on your belly. Take a big breath in. Blow out. Another one. What's that doing? Calming us down. It's getting us back into our frontal cortex, our reasoning and our thinking brain. And most of us, if we do that, if we take that time, we'll go, something doesn't feel quite right. We can check in with somebody, other people to get some help. We can do some research. We can talk to others. If you do this and this alone, you will be protected.